Welcome to the Undercovers podcast. We are on to the divisional round. The Bills are moving on after defeating the Pittsburgh Steelers in a very interesting game. The game was obviously moved, and then there definitely was some drama, some injuries. We'll get more into the game after that. And unfortunately for Connor, his season ended in Arrowhead, but I mean, we're kind of used to it, Connor. So we'll help you cope since that's
Yeah.
been the Bills' fate. You
Get
know,
ready.
2 out of the last 3 seasons. So we know how to deal with it. We can help you, through this troubling time. And then Connor also is paying up on a little bet. So that
Yeah.
is something that we all are very pumped about.
Yeah, I lost a bet, so I had to order a Josh Allen jersey, and I'm now wearing it for the show. Honestly, I kind of like it. I think it fits.
Yeah,
It,
you look
it
good in
kind of
it,
does,
Connor.
Yeah.
at least for the playoffs' sake.
beautiful.
Yeah, you got to keep rocking it for the playoffs. And by the way,
I
Connor,
did.
you might be our good luck charm because the Bills, I think, are undefeated every time you've been on our podcast this season. So we're just gonna keep riding it out, right? Like,
You know
Okay.
what? Yeah, I think you're
All
right.
right, yeah.
I think you're actually right, man.
yeah,
Ever
because
since
the
I became
Miami
a
game,
co-host,
yeah.
yeah. Ever since I got on the show full time, the Bills kept winning. So
And they're gonna
Wait,
keep winning.
is that for real?
yes, I'd
Yeah.
have to go
He
back and
came
look.
on
but that's-
after Jacksonville.
No,
That was after Jacksonville, so that
well, once he became the
count 'cause
co-host, it
after
was the
Jacksonville.
Dallas game. It was after the Dallas game. Was
Mhm.
his first
Right.
show.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Have that one for your superstition, Jenna. Maybe I am your good luck charm after all.
We got to do research into that because I'm big into superstitions too. It's like
Mhm.
we can't do.
I'm almost
We
positive
can't pick the
that
Bills game
that was the Dallas
or
game.
pick six.
No,
Or
we
just-
don't have to pick it, but I
Yeah,
mean,
no.
ever since
No.
Connor's joined us, like, the
And now they
vibe's
can
been
be
good. The
integrated.
Bills have been rolling, and we're on to the division round. And Connor's in a Josh Allen jersey.
Sacrifices
So
are being made.
yeah, sacrifices are being made to the pit, even though William Matar is advising against that.
That guy's a Chiefs fan. I'm just going to be completely honest. I saw the tweet earlier. That guy has to be a Chiefs fan, whether closeted or not.
William Matar, he's in so many Western New York commercials.
Yeah, Chiefs
and
fan.
Yeah, he has.
I think
to
he
be.
might have repped the Bills in a commercial. But
Chiefs fan.
Yeah, he's not repping
Yeah.
them now.
Nope.
no,
Not
no.
if you're telling people to not jump into the pit. I mean, but
William Matar has always been on my shit list. Don't ask me
Yeah.
why. Don't ask
Well,
me
he
why.
definitely is now because, I mean, we got to keep the pit going. We got to keep Connor on the podcast. Like, whatever's.
William
whatever
Matar is the
luck
next
is
one in the
working.
pit then.
Yeah.
That's what I said. Throw,
Yeah. throw that man right in the
throw
pit.
William Matar in the pit. The Bills might turn into a dynasty, and they might start rolling after that.
But anyway, speak of anything close resembling to the pit, the game that was played at Orchard Park. Let's discuss it because there was some things that happened in this game that are worth discussing.
Yeah, for
like
sure.
Josh Allen being a literal human buffalo, on his way to that touchdown run, like. That fake slide stuff is so annoying because no one wants to tackle him in the open field. Go back to week 18 in Miami. Cater Kohu just said, nope, he definitely wasn't fake sliding there. Like, if you see Josh Allen running in the open field, like, good luck if you're a defender.
It's not only that, but that really wasn't a slide. If you see what a real
No,
fake
it's
slide
different.
is, you have to watch Kenny Pickett when he was in Pitt a
Mhm.
few years ago because
yeah.
that was a real slide. He arced his back and went down with it. Like he looked like he was getting ready to do it and then psych.
Yeah.
So Josh Allen did not do that. He just kind of put a little small juke on the
Yeah.
defender,
Yeah,
which
and that's what he does. He always does like a little stutter step.
I-
Stutter
Mhm.
step. He's done that for
Mhm.
years.
And
when
if
he
you
played-
I don't
to
think it
break
was
out
Minka
run.
Fitzpatrick that he did it on, but the irony behind it is not lost if it was, because that was
Yeah.
a Chris Greer
no.
hand-picked draft
Yeah.
choice.
No, Minka Fitzpatrick just completely whiffed on Khalil Shakir
Yeah.
on that touchdown. Like,
See what I mean?
it's crazy. Like, the Bills receivers completely saw Minka Fitzpatrick between Gabe Davis last year
Mhm.
on that that 54-yard catch where he just took it away from him with one hand, like Gabe Davis of all people doing that to supposed, all pro safety. And then he tries tackling Khalil Shakir and whoop, Khalil Shakir just one of the craziest touchdowns I've ever seen, by the way. And
Yeah.
I mean, I
Shades
think
Cater
he should have
totally.
had two weeks in a row because I still don't think his knee was down in Miami. On that
have-
play, if you
I
remember,
have
Yeah.
they
exactly.
called him down.
I know which one. Are you talking about the one versus the Chargers, or
Maybe it was the Chargers.
well, I think
Yeah,
his
it was
knee-
the Chargers. I don't know why I was
think
thinking
he
Miami.
was down by contact, but there was a.
I don't think his knee touched. Either way, like
I don't
he's a
know, like, they
magician
put it
in the open
slow-mo.
field. No, the play against Miami was the one was the huge play down the sideline. I'm thinking of that play. He just
Ugh.
shows off his ability in the open field, and like that guy is underrated. Has underrated speed. Like we ran a
He does.
4.43, so he was the second fastest receiver in his class. And on that like play, which basically helped the Bills go goal to goal at the end of that game. I mean, Gabe Davis had that was early in the game. My bad. The Bills still scored, I believe, but that play to Khalil Shakir, like he kind of had cheetah vibes in the open field watching him run.
Mhm.
The one against the Dolphins, like ever since Joe Brady has taken over, like Khalil Shakir's role in this offense, he has really developed into a playmaker, and I think he's going to be a key going forward because, with him in the slot, Dalton Kincaid, Stephon Diggs, like, and James Cook, like the Bills have so many weapons right now at their disposal. And I just love how Brady is utilizing each one of them.
You want to
Yeah.
know something funny that I watched when James Cook had the ball and the Bills were on offense? Whenever Cam Hayward was not on the
Yeah.
field,
I thought that was really
James Cook was averaging like 5,
interesting.
maybe 6 yards per carry. But then when Cam Hayward was put in a defensive package for Pittsburgh, he would always get stuffed either at the line of scrimmage or behind the line to gain. Cam Hayward is probably their second best defensive player outside of TJ Watt.
Oh, 100%.
And definitely
probably a future Hall of Famer as well.
Oh, he's definitely a future Hall of Famer. He's been to 2 Super Bowls. He knows, the pressure of the playoffs. But at the end of the day, he's getting up there in age. He's not the same guy that was trying to sack Aaron Rodgers in the 2010 Super Bowl. But at the end of the day, he's still an excellent run stopper. He was able to keep James Cook kind of contained when he was not sitting on the sideline. When he was sitting on the sideline, you could just see that the lanes were opening and that James Cook was just gone every time. And it was pretty freaking awesome, especially that one play. I mean, I know this one wasn't James Cook, but the fact that the Steelers brought all that pressure on third down, Allen's just like, let me sneak up the hole really quickly, and then just decides, I'm going to take off. Manages to shake 2 defenders and just keeps running. I was just sitting there going, like, did he really just do that? Did he
I
really
jumped
just
up
do
and I was
that?
like, "Oh my god! Oh my god!" That was insane.
Like-
And yeah.
Oh man, you just sat there watching him do that. You're just like, what?
And-
Excuse me?
Another play that I was absolutely dumbfounded on was Kyer Elam's interception.
Oh, that was great.
Right before the play, and I kid you not, in my head, I said to myself, Kyer Elam interception. I'm not even freaking kidding. And then that happened. I stood up, had my hands on my head. I'm like for a solid minute. I was like, what the fuck that just happened? Like I literally, and I did that in the Patriots game. In my head, I said pick six, and then Russell Douglas just picked it off and went back for 6. Like a second later. So I don't know. For some reason, I have just like this innate like
Special
energy. Like it's just I
will
can
pick sixes.
I can manifest these plays for some reason. And it's just like
But
it's the very
only-
next play.
Only when it's Kyer Elam, apparently. Well, you did say Rasul Douglas on the other one,
Yeah.
but if Rasul Douglas doesn't play, then you're gonna have to do that a
Always a
couple of
turnover.
times.
It's always a turnover.
Then you'll have to keep manifesting turnovers because that's
Yeah.
the only way we're gonna beat the Chiefs.
Yeah.
consistent turnovers.
Yeah. By the way, when Connor says we, he's talking about the Bills because he's riding with us for the rest of the playoffs. And I know it might be sensitive for him to say we because he is not a part of Bills Mafia, but we're gonna uh
He's an
let
honor,
him use
remember, right now.
we're gonna let him use the Bills card right now. Yeah.
Wow. All right.
Yeah,
Is the,
you're getting a pass.
I'm getting a pass.
Yeah.
Oh man. I mean, anything to not see the Chiefs in another Super Bowl though. Like please.
Yeah.
Anything
Yeah.
but the Chiefs in another Super Bowl.
Well,
Even though Mahomes is electric, uh I don't want to see him again. It's
thankfully the Bills could eliminate that possibility this Sunday. And it's gonna be probably one, if not the biggest game in Bills history to, continue this hot streak that we're on. Um, because it could turn if the Bills win this week, depending on who they face in the AFC Championship, I don't know if they lose another game this season because of, if Terrell Bernard, and we haven't even talked about the injuries yet. Right now, the Bills are a little banged up. They have some players that are possibly coming back, like Rasul Douglas, Tyrell Dodson. Um, Taron Johnson is in concussion protocol, but he's in the final stages of it because he's considered limited in
Okay.
practice.
So he
Um,
could play then.
he could play.
Douglas is playing though, I believe, right?
Yeah, he said he
Dodson is playing. He should be
play.
playing.
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
Taron playing would be huge.
I will say this, Jenna. The entire defensive line is mostly healthy, which is great. Obviously, Jordan Phillips still isn't back, but I mean, I think it's a possibility we could even get him back at some point. But with the depth on the defensive line, and I think you got to point to the depth at secondary, like the corner depth specifically really held strong. Like Dane Jackson was very solid again on Sunday, and Elam allowed one reception for 12 yards, and he had that clutch interception. So, I mean, we'll still have Benford. We still have Jackson. I mean, Cam Lewis, I mean, he did get totally mossed again by George Pickens, but I mean, that was just a bad matchup for poor Cam. But I just think with the depth on the defense, I feel a lot more comfortable, about this defense than I did last year's defense in the playoffs, at least, because even, with McDermott calling plays, like, it's going to be a little more aggressive. McDermott has shown to do better adjustments than Leslie Frazier has. So I do have to credit Sean McDermott. Credit is due. So I'm pretty confident with the defense right now. I know it's Mahomes, but their best weapon right now is a rookie, Rasheed Rice, who I believe is banged up a little bit himself. Right? I mean, Kelsey does not look himself. He's getting older. I thought Rice got nicked up in your game, Connor.
He did, but it wasn't anything like
right,
crazy.
Yeah, it wasn't crazy, but I mean, he might be, maybe
Like,
not
little sore.
100%.
like he got a
Yeah.
little dinged up, but he went right back in the game.
Oh, he went
So
right
it's
back
not,
in. Okay, never mind.
you
But
know,
even
like,
if it's like
kicked
he's their
himself
top
in the face.
receiver,
Mhm.
if Teron Johnson plays, I would try to match up Teron Johnson versus Rasheed Rice. I would put
even if
Douglas.
Rasul, even if
I would put
Rasul
Douglas
Douglas
on.
plays,
No, hear me out. Hear me out. I'm putting Douglas on Kelsey because he's done a really good job
He's super
matching up
physical too.
against tight ends and bigger
Right.
guys. So
Yeah.
let me put Rasul on Kelsey. I put Teron Johnson on Rice. And then, even if it has to be, a rotation between, Dane or Elam, whatever, like I think whoever is the next man up can handle MVS / Sky Moore and Tony. I do.
Yeah. And Christian Benford, of course, he's got the knee injury, so we don't really. McDermott has been very under wraps with the injuries.
Yeah, that's the
So
one thing
far.
I'm a little concerned about. And like even
I-
Douglas, or not Douglas, sorry, Bernard. Like I know he says he's day to day, but we don't know if that's true. Like I don't trust that. Like I would be very shocked if Bernard plays Sunday.
Yeah,
Like
me too.
I believe he will play in the AFC Championship game,
Mhm.
but Sunday I don't know if Bernard plays, but I mean even without Bernard, like if we can get Spectre back, like Spectre's been good in his limited time, and even shout out AJ Klein, like the man was set to go uh he was like he's
Key
going on a
West.
cruise or something, Key West, right? Or Key
Yeah.
West.
Yeah.
Either way, like he was going to Key West with his family and being called him, and he had 11 tackles in the playoffs. I mean, even shout out Dorian Williams, like that hit he had
Yeah.
on was it Allen Robinson? Like he just absolutely murked him.
Yeah.
And
Allen
like
So
Robinson, man.
he's now at the point where like you can kind of consider him in his second year. Same with the rest of these Bills rookies. Like they've played a full season. They're almost veterans at this point, and he's been in the system working with Bobby Babich for a whole season, so he's not as green. So, I mean, even if Dorian has to play, I mean, I trust that Dorian is going to look a lot better than he looked in that Jags game and early on in the season. I mean, and Dotson has been good. So, I mean, if it's
yeah.
Dotson and Klein, I mean, that may not be the worst thing for the Bills, especially with how, Kelsey has looked. It's, two guys, you know, nearing the retirement home matched up against each other between Travis Kelsey and AJ Klein.
Oh,
How
jeez.
about that matchup? I mean, that's
Yeah.
just the way that Kelsey's been playing this season. I gotta be honest. Like, no shade to Travis. Like, he's obviously the GOAT tight end, but like he's not, the fact that he got voted eight, what was it? I don't know if the AP voted him as well, but I know the Players Association voted him first team All Pro. Like, come on, like he definitely was not the best tight end of football this season. It was Sam Laporta, but
Sam
whatever.
What
Laporta. Yeah.
what I'm going to say is that one of either Dotson or Bernard has to go for me for the linebackers on Sunday, because if you have Klein, he has experience, but he's also inconsistent. There's really no in between. He's either good or he's bad. And then you got Dorian Williams and Balin Spector, who are kind of, they're not Dorian is inexperienced, but Balin Spector hasn't, gotten, true, big playoff, games. That would be the worst case scenario if it's Klein. Even though Travis Kelsey had a he hasn't had a Travis Kelsey season, that would still open up the middle of the field for him to work. And I would think that would be the game plan for Andy Reid with, two of our both starting linebackers out. They would just say Mahomes to Kelsey straight up the middle. And I have a feeling that would work for most of the game. And then the Bills would have to find an answer to stop that. Or even Rice and Mahomes right up the middle all game long.
You stick
That's
Ron
my only
Johnson on
concern
him,
because
he's
Pittsburgh
stuck on him.
But you'd
because
have to think that
Pittsburgh
McDermott.
had that success.
Yeah, McDermott's gonna
Yeah.
have an adjustment. Like
Yeah.
Pittsburgh wasn't
Right.
attacking the middle of the field consistently, even when they went out. Like most of Pittsburgh's plays were just
Mhm.
chunk plays, almost on broken plays,
Yeah.
which is just when the quarterback or Mason Rudolph just would escape a sack or whatever and run around, and he would just throw it downfield. And that by that time, it's 5-6 seconds, after the play started, so it's broken coverage. You can't really expect a corner. It's really going to be on the Bills' defensive line to really
Right.
get Mahomes contained and not let him escape. Like we
Mhm.
know that's what's hurt the Bills so much in the past is Mahomes' legs and ability to extend plays. So Greg Rousseau, Leonard Floyd, AJ Epinesa, even Von Miller, and like the end of that Steelers game, I kind of saw a little bit of the old Von Miller
Yeah, I saw that
in
too.
a couple of spurts. Like he looks like he's starting to get his explosiveness back. So
Like
I
that
mean,
one
hey,
pressure right toward the end of the game. Is
yep,
that where? Yeah, because
yeah,
he
he
was.
almost got a sack. He
He
shot out of a cannon there.
yeah,
Okay.
he beat the lineman off the edge and was like right there. And then Mason
He
throws the
even did a
ball.
spin move. Like that was a
Mhm.
textbook vintage Von Miller play. And like I know Von Miller, say what you want about his season, this past year with the injuries or whatnot, but the Bills did sign him to be a playoff closer. if he comes here and is a playoff closer, I think that's still a good job by Brandon Bean, right? Like, even he
Mhm.
gets a couple sacks in the playoffs, like, that's what the Bills ultimately brought him in for, are these, cold weather end of year games. I mean, it's really up to the pass rush, in my opinion, to get home, because there were times on Sunday, and credit to Broderick Jones and the Steelers left tackle. Shoot, I forgot his name, but they did a good job, I thought, throughout the day of, containing the Bills' edges. I know Greg Rousseau got through that one time for sack. He had a near other one, but like for most of the game, Mason Rudolph had a pretty clean pocket, other than Ed Oliver just
Mhm.
completely abusing the center. But unfortunately, Oliver wasn't able to get any sacks. But I mean, that's what it comes down to this week for me in this game, is getting to Mahomes, making him get rid of it, and making him have to trust these unproven receivers,
Yeah.
because Rashee Rice is still green, but those other guys, like the other guys, have not done anything this year.
With the case of the freaking drops.
Yeah, for sure. When you're talking about the defensive line, I think you want to keep Mahomes in the pocket. You want to set the edge, and the
100%.
Chiefs' offensive tackles are one of their weaknesses. Also, too, Jawan Taylor. You know,
Oh
he's
my
been a
god.
weakness for the Chiefs all season with the false starts and the penalties.
Yeah.
Imagine, being in front of Bills
Oh
Mafia
my
in
gosh.
Highmark Stadium,
I
like the amount
mean,
of false
yeah.
starts you could have. And I'm gonna
Or just
credit
the miscommunications, Jenna, like
yeah,
delay of games, them not being able to get the calls in correctly from the sidelines, maybe have to take timeouts or
mhm.
whatever. Like,
Yeah, and I wanna credit our good friend Ryan. He is the one who believe on my I'm gonna shout out my other podcast. It's called The Gridiron Buffalo. So if you want to check out another podcast, all we talk about is the Buffalo Bills. You know,
yeah,
check
tune
that
into
out. But
that.
Ryan, he's one of my co-hosts on that show, and he brought that up yesterday when we were recording that the Chiefs offensive tackles, it'll bait them into doing those false starts.
Yeah, that's
Um,
a great point. Great shout
Jawan
out,
Taylor
Ryan. Uh,
got baited a
Not only
lot
that,
against the Dolphins. A
Donovan
lot.
Smith, I don't think he's been very good this year, if I'm not mistaken.
I guess when they talk
I haven't done
about
a ton
their
of research,
tackles
but from what
plural,
I've
then
heard, Smith hasn't been that great when he's been healthy, and he didn't play the last game. So, I mean, him coming back from an injury after not having a stellar season, like that also could be an advantage for the Bills. You know, not only do you have Jawan Taylor, who you can beat like a drum, but you also have Donovan Smith. So, like,
yeah,
Home field has been the Bills, friend under Sean McDermott in playoff games. The Bills are 5-1 in home
that's
playoff games
crazy.
under
Yeah.
Sean McDermott, and the Bills are 24-5 in December and January since 2020. Home
Wow.
field is what we all as Bills fans really have wanted, and we finally have gotten it. We've
Yeah,
been
especially
going on
versus
the road.
Mahomes.
Right. And Mahomes is, this is Mahomes' first road playoff game. And, he's 5-0 in playoff games, but he's at home. He's playing at home in front of Chiefs fans. This is his first real test coming to
Yeah.
Buffalo, because the last time he was in Buffalo was the COVID year. It was a Thursday night football game. It was shifted to a Tuesday night. It was all weird, wacky, and messed up. The Bills are ready for this game. You're hearing it all over their press conferences. They're ready for this game. This is something they want to rewrite history, from that horrid 13-second game. That they just want to rewrite it. They want to set a new Bills versus Chiefs book. This starts the new chapter this
Well,
weekend, and I mean the full
this is the conclusion to the trilogy, Paul. You had
yeah.
everything. Well, today or Sunday is going to be Revenge of the Bills, or the Bills Strike Back. However you want to close the book. Right now, the Chiefs are going into a frozen environment, and they're gonna feel the wrath of Bills Mafia. And I know you brought it up,
Literally
Paul,
frozen.
about this being Mahomes' first road playoff game, but like, how awesome is it that it's in Buffalo of all places that
Yeah,
Mahomes' first
the
road
irony.
playoff game gets to be going into Buffalo for a revenge game. Like, I mean, the script writers really did their thing this playoffs because I mean, you almost couldn't script it any better at this point. And then you also have CJ Stroud, on the other hand, going to Baltimore where he had his first NFL game and didn't have the best performance. And since then, he's had the best rookie season by a quarterback ever. And he is him, by the way. I wouldn't be shocked if they went into Baltimore, by the way, and knocked them off. But I guess we'll get to that later in our game picks. But like,
We'll get to that later.
Oh
I
they
have a
yeah.
cooked
good
this
question for
year
that one.
with these potential playoff scenarios. Like, can you imagine if
Oh,
the
please.
NFC Championship game is Lions Packers of all? Like, that would be something if we get an NFC North. And then I guess
It completes my
I
Packers
would take
journey.
I would take the Bills going into Baltimore and knocking off MVP Lamar for Josh to claim his throne, right?
Well,
As a true king of the North.
oh yeah, okay, King of the North. I mean, you would have had to have beaten 3 teams to call it that, but at the end of the day, that's the only scriptwriter miss. Why would you not want Joe Flacco going into Baltimore and facing the team he won a Super Bowl with all them years
Yeah,
ago? That's your only miss.
I was see, that's why I know the NFL isn't scripted, because the Eagles, I mean, if the NFL was scripted, the Eagles would have advanced. You know, all the big teams, Dallas, whatever. Like,
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, these games are just too great. And how awesome is playoff football? Like, you know, all the
maybe
other sports are
maybe
great, but like, really nothing can top the NFL playoffs for my money. Just like all
yeah,
these games, like the passion, the fans, you know, the
yeah,
energy, the games are all just so
Oh,
entertaining, to be honest. I mean, most of them. I mean, last week we did have a couple boring games, but I mean, to be honest, I was entertained by Baker Mayfield and Jordan Love kicking, you know, the Cowboys and Eagles out of the playoffs, and
it was
especially in
beautiful.
the fashion they
that
did.
that
It was
was great.
awesome. With CJ Stroud, like, I as a fan of football, I'm appreciating, you know, the talent at the quarterback position, especially shown by such a young quarterback, because it's insane that a guy can come in and look like a freaking 5 to 6 year veteran in his first year and set all kinds of, you know, records as a rookie in the playoffs. Like,
Mhm.
that is awesome.
Well, he's got a great coach and he's got a great supporting cast. Let's be completely real.
I mean,
But
he does have a really good supporting cast,
Not
and
elite.
it's kind of funny that how the turntables or whatever they say on the Laramie Tunsil trade. How could who could have thought that Laramie Tunsil would have won a game with CJ Stroud after everything that went down? Like, that is crazy.
yeah, that has been one of the many pain points
Not
that
only that,
people have
you now
stabbed
have the
Dolphins fans
longest
with.
playoff win drought after your former interim head coach snapped that for the
The
Lions.
irony,
So
the irony is
the
never
irony,
lost.
it's
Like,
never
not
lost.
only that, but you also have to consider one other thing too. Dan Campbell obviously was part of the Dolphins staff. There was somebody else in the playoffs that won a playoff game that was also part of the Dolphins staff a
I
long
know
time
Ben
ago.
Johnson was also on the Dolphins, but he's also with the Lions.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly
Hmm.
who it was, but the fact that 2 former assistant coaches for the Dolphins wound up going to other teams and those other teams won playoff games before the Dolphins did is probably one of the most painful things you could possibly think of.
Yeah.
On
Yeah,
top
I
of
can
that,
imagine.
the Josh Allen 52-yard touchdown sparked a debate. Actually, it wasn't really a debate. It was a bunch of Dolphins fans at once began tweeting out, why can't we have a quarterback that could do that? And then everybody was like, we got to get Justin Fields. And I'm looking at you guys and going, are you guys dumb? Did you not watch? Have you never seen Justin Fields play the game of football?
And then that also sparked a Dolphins reporter micro analyzing
Oh,
that
that was
play.
funny.
How many times did Joe Scott or whatever his name is,
Chad.
Chad? I call him Joe Chad, but
Joe
how
Chad.
many times did Joe tweet out that video from different angles. Then he tweeted out the compilation or whatever. And that same guy was, I'm sorry, Connor, he's the one who sparked your downfall because he posted that Dolphins Jaguars AI image, and those things are cursed, by the way. If
They
you
are.
post
They
like
are
those
cursed.
AI images,
Are
like you
are
don't
you
want
sure?
to.
No, it wasn't Joe. It wasn't Chad. It was
Yeah, no, it
another
was.
guy.
No, it was.
There
I
was
can go
someone
back and pull
else.
my receipts. Like I
Was
tweeted
it?
about him because he was also the same guy. Let me get to it. Complaining about the Ravens
I know
running up the
Ben has
score.
the biggest
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
feud with
when
Joe Chad.
Miami scored 70 in a game, like, you're really gonna complain about a team running up the score when your team scored 70? Now,
Yeah,
I definitely have an axe to grind with a Joe Chad because
we
he's a clown. I'll just say that.
it's
Yeah.
funny too because lately all he could talk about is the Bills, the Bills, the Bills, and oh yeah, the Bills. Like he hasn't shut
Maybe
up
he should
about the
get a
Bills.
job in Buffalo.
Maybe
He
he
wants
should.
to, report on the Bills
He
so
should talk to
badly,
Marcel. Maybe
right?
he's got some he's got a little
Oh my
ring.
god. Yeah,
Maybe he
what's
can
Mm,
write for
mm,
the
what's even
Niagara
Marcel.
funnier,
Falls Sentinel instead of the Sun Sentinel or whatever
he
he
doesn't
writes
even write
for.
for the Sun Sentinel. He writes for the Orlando. I think it's either the Orlando Sentinel or the Orlando Post. It's out of Orlando, which isn't even near Miami. Like,
Bro
bruh,
should cover the Magic.
bro, yeah, bro's not even a basketball fan. It's not like one of our other better reporters, Barry Jackson, who is the whole
He,
Miami
he's
sports
the goat.
reporter. And at the end of the
Goat.
day, even Barry, Joe, all
What
the
about
other
Omar? No, I'm
Miami beat
kidding.
reporters, they have the worst and most negative outlook on the Dolphins after the Chiefs game. Because let me dive into this game really quick because
Sure.
yeah, that
We
was
still haven't really gotten your thoughts about that
yeah,
game
well that
either.
was a painful game. But at the end of the day, when you truly think about it, you analyze the game. The absolute fact of the matter is there were hardly any pressures on Mahomes at all. We could not apply pressure. We
You
got
guys don't
Oh,
no
have any.
sacks.
wait,
You
you're
have a
telling me
nursing home of defensive
wait,
ends.
wait, you're telling me the retirement home that you pulled out there,
Did
with
Justin
nothing.
Justin
Houston.
Houston going to the Chiefs locker room after the game
Oh,
on
no,
top.
So
Justin
You're
funny.
Houston.
telling him and the other all-star Melvin Ingram, weren't living in Mahomes' backfield?
Nope.
I'm shocked.
There was no yeah, I know where you're going with that, Ben. No sacks and like 2
And not
pressures
no
all
salt
game.
and pepper.
And the one pressure that really mattered was toward like the middle of the game when there was a broken hole in the Chiefs O line. Pretty sure it was by oh yeah, let me say it, Jawan Taylor when he blew up a assignment. Jerome Baker came right down. I think it was either Jerome Baker or somebody came right down the middle, forced an errant throw out of Mahomes that was like a couple of inches away from a pick of our own, which yeah, that was the only good thing that happened for us
Al-
all game, except for
Also,
that Tyreek Hill touchdown, which, by the way,
that
with it
was
being
a
as
great
early
play
as it
by
was in the
Tyreek.
game and the score being what it was, I was yelling, right? I was like, oh my God, Tyreek saved the game. But they had a design plan, and we saw it on display again.
Yeah, Snead
Mike
jammed him to
McDaniel got
Cancun.
away from the run when it was working. Devon Chan was absolutely blitzing the Chiefs defense. Even Raheem Mostert was looking really good while still kind of hobbling around, not 100%. Jalen Waddle wasn't 100%, but it's the playoffs. You got to play guys that aren't 100% because you don't play them, you're really going to lose. Score would have probably been a lot worse if there were more injuries. But the thing that nobody talks about is the fact that Dolphins offense never took off without Connor Williams. When he went
Yeah.
down with the ACL injury, that spelled the entire demise of the team. They couldn't run, they couldn't protect, and they couldn't pass. Tua had to revert to an old form of his quarterbacking style, which was get the ball and within less than a second get the ball to a receiver, which was reverting to his first read tendency. We saw in the beginning of the year, middle of the year, Tua had gotten away from that tendency. Sure, he'd hit his read if they were open, but if they weren't open, he'd go for his second option. He'd go for his third option. He'd have more success. But that was because he had more time in the pocket. With it being as frigid as it was at Arrowhead, combined with the fact that Connor Williams did not play 3 we had 3 starters of our original 5 on the offensive line. Tua was pressured all game. He got sacked like 2 or 3 times. And at the end of the day, that was going to bite us at the end. That was it nice to have hopium for the team? Oh yeah. You guys know I had it. I thought we might be able to pull this off. You know, coming into Arrowhead, Tyreek Hill wanting to beat up on the Chiefs. He had his game plan, but at the end of the day, we just couldn't execute. And it is
The
what it
cold
is.
might have had something to do with that too.
Oh, the cold definitely had something to do with it. And it's not a matter of making excuses. It's a matter of that was a temperature that nobody in South Florida is going to be used to. Like, it's bad enough down here. We're in full jackets and pants and all that when it's like 50 degrees. Now imagine being
That's
in
short
that
stick for
climate.
us.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Now imagine going to a climate that's like -20. How do you think anyone that's been acclimated to the area in South Florida that Hard Rock is going to perform?
Not
So,
well. I mean, I saw like 9 people got frostbite or
oh,
hypothermia at the game, apparently,
Mhm.
Yeah.
something
yeah, it
like
was bad.
that. So
It,
hopefully everyone uh, is able to recover. Not having any uh, long-term injuries or side effects from that. I mean, but yeah, what a cold game and what a cold way to have
what
your
a
season end, right?
I
Oh
think the
man,
most painful part about the season, like doing what it did
was
with
it
that
blowing the
loss,
3-game division lead?
it's not even the 3-game division lead, but it's more the fact that if we would have just won one game against a 4-8 Tennessee Titans who got eliminated a week later from the playoffs,
Thanks,
Mhm.
fans.
we would have literally never been in this position.
And
We would have been the
honestly,
ones playing in Miami against
I
Pittsburgh.
need. I'll say it right now, Connor. I need to buy a Will Levis jersey because of that. Because I owe
Yeah.
that man.
Yeah,
They
y'all
owe
do,
Josh Allen.
because that game set the tone and that game set the collapse. I think it wasn't really the fact that, by this point, Phillips was already gone, and Jalen Phillips accounted for a ton of our pressure. I know
Yeah,
Zach Seiler got 10.5 sacks, Christian Wilkins got 9.5 sacks, but they were pressuring, but it was the fact that they were so scared of Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb off the edge. Without
right.
those two, it was a nightmare trying to
It
get pressure, because yeah, maybe Melvin Ingram could try something, or like we signed Justin Houston. Justin Houston didn't hardly touch Mahomes. Then you had a play where Mahomes was able to escape the pocket and try to use his legs to gain some yards, like we were talking about earlier. Duke Riley had a chance to just absolutely level Mahomes, and he didn't take it. It's
it
it's not like the whole situation with Kader Kohu on Josh Allen. You will see tweets from my fans talking about how Kohu was trying to strip the ball from Josh Allen, but at the end of the day, he didn't even make the effort. Like,
It's
you
like he
can't
didn't even make
say,
contact.
yeah, he didn't make contact. He was looking for an angle to try to strip the ball, but he didn't even make he didn't make the angled effort. He didn't make the contact. He did nothing. So you can't really say, oh, he was trying to do X, Y, and Z.
right.
No, he wasn't. He
He
didn't
Is
try
didn't
to
he
do
didn't
anything.
try.
is Deshaun Elliott a future Buffalo Bill? By the way,
No, but I'm pretty sure he's not going to be on this team on the Dolphins going forward. As a matter of fact, I hate to say it, he has given the Chiefs pure bulletin board material. If you
He
haven't
did.
seen it, or if anybody else has not seen it, by posting on his
maybe that's
Instagram.
why he did it. Like that. Mm, now
Yeah,
I know why he posted that because he wanted the Bills to lose. Like what a
yeah,
slick
maybe. I
guy.
mean,
Ugh.
hey, if he's trying to reverse jinx anything, then at this point, give him a lifetime contract. But no, he was about as effective as a wet napkin against Mahomes. But at the end of the day, with it, we were just so badly beaten up. We're going to talk about it later on the show. Uh, the collapses that we've seen in this playoff. Yeah, the Dolphins are one of them, but at the end of the day, you kind of saw this coming, because the team slowly started to get beat up, slowly started to deteriorate on offense, and at the end of the day, it was going to happen at one point or another. We would have just liked to have ended the streak of playoff end the streak, get at least one playoff win, move on to Baltimore, and then just have them crush our souls again. We would have been happy with that, with the way the defense had been just torn to shreds. But oh well, end our season, end our misery, give us a 21st overall pick, and pray to God Stephen Ross doesn't do anything stupid and try to draft a quarterback with it.
Also, I got some breaking news. Dallas not making a change at head coach this year. They're gonna let
Oh.
Mike McCarthy play or
Mhm.
coach
Excuse
out
me?
the final year of his contract. So no Belichick to Dallas. Wow, that's where like all
Excuse
of us
me?
predicted him to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, McCarthy.
Why?
I don't know because
This is
Jerry
how
Jones.
this is
Jerry
Well,
how
he
bad
Jones.
has 1
franchises.
year left on his contract, so
Jerry
I mean,
Jones is
Hunter, are
instead of
you
like
a
he's like the
firing
secret
Miami
him,
Cowboys
Dolphins of
fan
the
or something?
NFC.
What?
They're
Are
busy
you a secret
selling
Cowboys
season
fan?
tickets.
Wait, Jenna, what?
Are you a secret Cowboys fan or something? You seemed really offended by that news.
No. This is how bad franchises stay bad. What has
Yeah.
Mike McCarthy done since getting into Dallas that truly matters? You might be 12-5 and you might have a division
Beat
title, but that
Tom
team is
Brady
supposed to go
into
Hey,
places.
retirement.
Yes,
hey,
and
he
Tom
had
this
one
Brady
of
kind of
the
retired
segues
this
signature.
year.
into
Whoa! They had one of the signature plays in the history of NFL playoffs when Zeke snapped the ball from center, the final play of the San
Yeah.
Francisco 49ers game.
Yeah, see, that was something else, all right. And I
It
don't
definitely was
understand
something else. I don't know
after
if it was good football,
after that
but
kind of collapse in the playoffs, after being this hype team. I don't know how they keep McCarthy. I don't know why they're keeping McCarthy. Again, this is how bad franchises stay bad.
this isn't. This is, I guess, more or less maybe just a guess. If Mike Vrabel does not get a head coaching job this year, Dallas next year. I think maybe Jones is kind of letting McCarthy see what he's doing because I don't think has Vrabel taken an interview yet. I mean, he might pull a Doug Peterson and sit the year out. I know Belichick. I mean, but there's a huge difference. There's like a 30-year age gap. I mean, Vrabel played for Belichick for crying out loud. So, like, I mean, Vrabel's got a long time ahead of him to still coach. Belichick's chasing Shula's record. So, I don't know where the best destination for that is now. Maybe Atlanta. And before we continue, I guess, let me just bring up potentially one of the best scenarios for football next season. Bill Belichick, the coach of the team that blew a 28-3 lead to him in the Super Bowl, with the quarterback who threw a pick against him at the 1 yard line because Russell Wilson is going to be a free agent. Atlanta's a quarterback away. Bill Belichick still trying to win. Can you imagine if
Oh man,
Belichick and Wilson went to the Falcons? Oh my gosh.
that would be hilarious. Like full circle,
That would be full circle.
weird,
it
weird.
would be.
That would be like 10 years ago. Imagine like turning on an NFL game and Bill Belichick's a head coach.
Yeah, and imagine.
You would think you're in like an alternate dimension or something. Like
Yeah,
crazy
now
things have
imagine.
happened in the NFL. But
Now imagine
that's my bold take. Belichick,
that's
Russell Wilson to Atlanta. That
that is
needs
a
to
Okay.
bold one.
happen.
Yeah,
That needs to
like it.
happen.
Yeah, that is amazing. Imagine
Just
5 years ago, though, the pass rush of Justin Houston, Emmanuel Ogba, and Melvin Ingram. 5 years ago, that would have broken the league,
yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
like
mean,
not anymore. But yeah, it's funny
Cowboys
because
fans have to be
yeah,
infuriated
suffering.
at this point.
oh, I
I mean,
bet I'm gonna tune into the Cowboys spaces later
Oh, this
and
is gonna
just
be
kind of
fun.
revel
What
in
are
it
we
because
doing?
I mean, but to be honest, I bet we would Bills fans would probably have a similar reaction if we kept McDermott and we lost
that
that game. So,
yeah.
yeah,
but
that
we
would
didn't.
kind of
McDermott actually did win that game, and I mean he's gained a lot more credibility with his fan base recently. I'm still waiting till he makes another championship game, potentially the Super Bowl, before I fully give him his flowers. But he does deserve, you know, the ones I've given him so far for sure. I mean, I
If
definitely been critical against McDermott this year, but credit him for turning it around. But you do also have to acknowledge he did kind of put them in the situation due to some of his late game management. But he's
right.
done a great job
well,
righting the ship, and they're playing their best
yes.
football of the year now, which is what you want.
Hmm.
So now is a big opportunity. But if he loses the divisional round, like the Marty Schottenheimer narrative is only going to get louder because that was
Yeah.
kind of the whole Marty Schottenheimer debate, right? They were great in the regular season, always got to the playoffs, but like they just could not win the big game. And now I know the Bills have some injuries on defense, but every team has injuries right now. I mean, it's football; it's part
Don't
of the
remind
game.
me.
You have to understand. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah, look at Miami. Like, no excuses, right? Like
Never is,
the
but
Bills have
not to them.
the perfect opportunity. A very weak AFC, the Chiefs at home, everything in front of them. If they're unable to get it done this year, I just don't know when they will be able to, with McDermott. That's just my take on it. It's not because I don't think they will fire McDermott regardless of what happens, but that's just my thing. If you can't win it this year when you have all the opportunities in front of you, you're at home, you got, no Rodgers in the playoffs, no Burrow in the playoffs, so many great players injured, on both sides of the ball. So it's not just the Bills who are missing players, it's every team. Like the NFC does not look strong at all. I don't care what you want to say about the 49ers. The AFC teams that have played the Niners have punched them in the mouth because the 49ers have built a brand on beating up against the weak NFC teams, which do not have the players that the AFC is. Let's just call a spade, right? Like when they played the Browns, they lost to PJ Walker. They lost. I mean, they got embarrassed by the Ravens. They lost to Joe Burrow. I mean, I guess they beat up on the Jags, but the Jags defense is an embarrassment. Let's be honest with you. Like
Yeah.
everyone is hating on Trevor Lawrence because yes, he did not have a top 5 season by any means, but the Jags defense is officially a joke. Like they
Y'all
gave
wanted
up
a collapse?
like
That's
40
a collapse.
points to Jake Brown. Yeah, they were the 1 seed before. I mean, they were the
8-3.
precursor. It's something with these Florida teams, Connor, because they were the number 1 seed on Monday Night Football. They lost at home in awful fashion. Then the next week, the same thing happened down in Miami. Like it's
Here's the
almost a
thing,
pattern.
Ben, if you're going to make it about Florida teams, you can't forget, yeah,
No, I'm
both
not
of
going
them
to forget
collapsed, and then one's in the divisional round right now,
Yeah.
playing with their quarterback playing the best game of football that he's played in his life, and
Oh my
giving the double
gosh.
bird to the Browns organization all
Can
the
you
way.
imagine if the Browns had this version of Baker Mayfield on that team?
Yeah,
They
they would have beaten the
could be
Texans.
Super Bowl contenders. Yeah, they
They-
would have smacked the Texans. Baker Mayfield, you know, he's playing top 10 football right now, almost top 5. Like he's putting up great numbers. I kind of got into a little bit of a Twitter debate with a Browns fan about Baker, and I even said, go back and look at Cleveland Browns quarterback play. You cannot find a season as good as Baker Mayfield this year since 2007 for the Cleveland Browns.
A
That's
reminder.
including Baker Mayfield's career in
Mhm.
Cleveland. So he's having a career year in Tampa Bay. The Bucks, I think they could go into in Detroit and knock them off because the Lions are playing great football right now, but I honestly
Mhm.
give the defensive edge in this game to Tampa Bay
I
because
would too.
Todd Bowles is a defensive guy. Their defense, I know AJ Brown wasn't playing, but they still put Philly and Alcatraz all night. And that's still the defense that made Patrick Mahomes look like a high school quarterback against them in the Super Bowl. You have to still remember that. They still have major pieces from that Super Bowl team on that defense. Devin Way, Levante David, Antoine Winfield Jr., Jamal Dean, and then Vita Vea, of course, right? Like they still have major pieces. Then they've added to that defense, Cansey from Pitt, and then they who's that? What is it? Yaya, I think the edge
Yaya
rusher they
Diaby.
drafted. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yaya Diaby. Like so, they've added more talent to this defense.
Mhm.
So. It's going to be a crazy divisional round. I'm really looking forward to it. But you're right. Baker
Yeah,
Mayfield, shout
hype
out
it.
to him. Did you see the clip of him, by the way, after he threw the touchdown to Godwin? He's like,
Yep.
you got to be down there somewhere. He even said
Yep.
it.
Yep, it was great. And
He
then,
is a
I mean,
legend.
just up that Baker Mayfield agenda all the way to the bank. That's all I got to say. He was the Browns quarterback that finally broke the streak of Ben Roethlisberger having
And
the
he
most
broke the
wins in
Steelers.
Cleveland.
Literally, the Steelers
And yes,
organization has not been the same since Baker Mayfield went into Pittsburgh and just unloaded on them because Pittsburgh
28 points in one half, by the way,
exactly. Their offense just
or one quarter.
completely
28
self-imploded.
points in one
They
quarter.
still had a respectable offense that season when they started 11-0. They didn't finish 11-0, but they started 11-0. They still had a semi-good offense. Granted, that was kind of the
Collapse of the
last
century.
decent year of Ben, but
Mhm.
I mean, they haven't been the same since the Steelers. Like
Collapse of the century. Speak
collapse
of
of the
collapses.
century.
Speak of collapses. Can we just talk about the Philadelphia Eagles or just laugh at them?
And they're
Cry,
fucking
Eagles, cry.
cry.
What excuses do you have, Philly? Like, what
mean,
excuses does
yeah.
this team have?
I
You
mean,
weren't injured to hell and back like the Dolphins were. Unlike the Cowboys,
Well,
you
their
had a
number one
Coaching
wide
flop.
receiver wasn't in the game.
well, I know
yeah.
why they lost. Their best coach is now coaching the Indianapolis, or their last coach from the Super Bowl team. Their best coach from the Super Bowl team is now coaching Indianapolis and Shane
Yeah.
Steichen. That
Yeah.
team nearly won a division with Gardner Minshew playing 14 games of that season.
They were like that close. They were like that
That
close. They
close.
needed
But
one game.
They needed Antonio Goodson or whatever his name just to reach back and catch the ball. It literally
Yep.
bounced off his fingertips. Like,
Yep.
Will
Terrible
Anderson
play
rushed
call.
Minshew.
I mean,
He couldn't get a great throw off, but like it was literally inches from them. They would have scored a touchdown there. Houston missed the extra point, so the game wouldn't have gone to overtime. They would have won the game. So
it was a
I mean,
conversion. All you had to do was run it right up the middle instead of trying a little fullback toss that had the potential of dropping
once
the ball.
Indy is able to get Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson on the field together for the first time next year, they're going to be scary for the AFC. I'm saying they're a team that's coming because they got like $90 million in cap room or whatever.
At least
Which
they
is
can say that.
insane.
Look at our teams.
Yeah, no, we
are
got
in
to
the
do
same
like cap
situation.
gymnastics. But I mean, that is the beauty of when you have a quarterback on a rookie deal, you're kind of
Don't
able
tell-
to do that.
Don't remind us.
And now Miami's, I mean, you guys got to pay Tua, so you guys got some work cut out to do.
We'll
The
work on
next
that
couple
when the
off
time.
seasons.
We'll work on that when the time comes. At the moment, it'll most likely be slap him with a franchise tag, give him one more year, and see what happens.
See what Yeah, I
That's
kind
Isn't
of
the
agree with
franchise
that.
tag a little bit more money than
Yes.
the actual market?
Yes.
Yeah, but that
at
just
the end of the day,
that
smart
avoids
play.
a long-term deal. It is a smart play. I
Right.
agree.
It's a smart
gonna-
play because you have no idea at what point Tua is going to hit the ceiling. You're hoping that he's got more room to grow, which I think he does, but he's got aspects of his game he has to work on, and McDaniel has aspects of his coaching that he has to work on. Maybe getting rid of Frank Smith and getting a more dedicated offensive coordinator with, well, it's not like Frank Smith wasn't, but get somebody with a similar mind as Mike McDaniel.
I was
Make
going to
him-
say you could have brought in Mike McCarthy, but Dallas is keeping him.
I wouldn't want to do that anyway. Keep that man away from Miami at all
That's-
costs.
Let's talk about the next round of the playoffs, and especially the Ravens and the 49ers. Both teams have been the hottest teams in the NFL. Who's most likely to be upset? The Ravens or the 49ers this weekend?
I think
And
it's
I'm going to
the
say
Ravens.
I'm going to go opposite. I'm going to say the 49ers are likely
All
to be
sticking with
upset.
his Green Bay, with his Packers.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
He's a big Packer guy.
Yes.
Am I? Oh,
Whatever.
callers. I thought everyone was.
Yeah.
I mean, hey,
I
the
mean,
Jordan
I-
Love story is great, but how unfair to everybody else in the league is it that the Packers land a franchise quarterback again? Like, can you cut us a
That's the
break?
They
greatest-
got like a
it's the greatest
fountain there or
story in
something. They
sports.
just dip their
Mhm.
their quarterbacks in, and they just come out like Hall of Fame or whatever. I don't know. It's like
Whoever
to
the
Rodgers,
quarterback
now
coach
to
is,
Love.
whoever that quarterback's coach is, I demand he be kidnapped and shipped to Miami overnight. Fix Tua, and well, I wouldn't say fix Tua, just refine Tua's game. Bang, we'll be good too. But at the end of the day, that is what it is. If you're talking upsets in the divisional round between the Ravens or the 49ers, it's going to be Baltimore. And the reason it's going to be Baltimore, I've seen this movie before. The 49ers or the Ravens were the 1 seed, played Pittsburgh in the last week of the regular season. Now, they won that game. They didn't win the last one this time, but they're the number 1 seed. In comes what looks like a pretty hot Texans team, that just put a whooping on one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in the league in Cleveland. And you come in here, they look hot. What's to say that history doesn't repeat? Because, like I said, I've seen the movie in the past. It happened. What's to say that CJ Stroud doesn't go in there, have himself a day, and sends the Texans to the first ever AFC championship game for that franchise, that very young franchise, to get to the AFC championship game? The story speaks for itself. Think about it in another way, too. If the lights are not too bright for CJ Stroud, this kid could be incredible as a franchise quarterback. We might be talking about CJ Stroud is that guy now in the AFC South. That guy, you play against him, you have to watch out for him every week because he just hits these accurate Tua-like passes, and he's got some mobility to him. It's not like he just sits there, doesn't really move in the pocket. I mean, he can move around a little bit. As long as the Texans offensive line can keep Stroud clean, I think they got a shot to pull it off. I just think the 49ers right now are too complete. Sure, the Packers have kind of owned them in a way, but I don't see it. Raheem Mostert ran all over them when he was in the 49ers, but that team's too complete. Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, it's too complete. If
Can I
anyone's
make an
going to get
argument
upset,
for the Packers?
yes,
Let me make
Mister.
an argument for the Packers.
All right, Mister. I got a Packers agenda.
Well,
Yeah.
look, Jordan Love and CJ Stroud numbers this weekend were literally similar to one
Mhm.
another.
Right.
Green Bay, though, had, I think, out of the two over Houston and Green Bay has the better defense. Green Bay had 3 sacks this weekend, and they forced 2 turnovers. I think with their defense is going to be that will help them keep them in the game, contain Debo and Christian McCaffrey, and should allow Jordan Love and this young, prolific offense with Aaron Jones, Romeo Dobbs, Christian Watson, and so many others to get in themselves solidified into the game enough to where they can play this game competitively. Because yes, to your point, Connor, the 49ers are complete and they could basically just walk into the divisional game and go win this game 42-15. But I think what the Packers did on the road to Dallas, Dallas is a big market and it's a great fan base there, and they can get loud there. They showed that they can be road tested with defense, and Jordan Love didn't look scared against the Dallas Cowboys. And I don't think Jordan Love isn't going to, and this young offense isn't going to look scared this weekend. And they have the
I mean,
head coach to do it.
I agree with you. My only concern is San Francisco's defense is a different animal than Dallas's. We saw it, look at how Philly's offense played versus Dallas in both games versus how San Francisco, I know there's division, so maybe more familiarity, but San Francisco completely annihilated Philly's offense in a way I had never really seen before when they were at full strength pretty much. So I know Jordan Love's playing great football, and I think a big thing to them will be getting up early because they built that lead early. And Dak Prescott this year, when he has had a 10-point or more deficit, he either has like 1 win or 2 wins, but he's got like 7 losses or something. So he has an awful record. So basically, this Dallas team, the way it's built, if you're able to get any kind of lead on them, it's basically curtains. So that's how Green Bay, and credit to Matt LaFleur for taking the ball and executing a great first drive, and then executing a great first drive, and then the game was pretty much over at that point. But I don't know if it's going to be the same story with Kyle Shanahan, especially you got to consider Matt LaFleur was an understudy to Kyle Shanahan. So Kyle Shanahan kind of, he knows what, Matt LaFleur likes, obviously. I guess you could say it's vice versa, but I'm just concerned with this Green Bay's defense against the San Fran offense. Like, yeah, I know Dallas's offense has been great at home, but I mean, we've seen Dallas's offense struggle against the Cardinals this year. So I don't know. Like, I think it'll be a great game, but I
Ben,
got San Fran.
timeout. The Bills just released their uniform combination for the divisional
yeah.
round.
Blue on white.
White
on white.
helmet with the blue jersey, the white pants, and the blue socks.
Yes.
It's elite.
Thank you. Thank
love
you to anyone that was calling for blue on blue. Oh my gosh. Who would want blue on blue for this matchup?
It's
That's the
fine.
cursed look.
It's a sign. It's a
I
sign.
know it's a
Apparently,
sign, Connor,
Sorry.
but I'm so glad they're wearing the blue on white. Man, that's a big
Connor,
relief
what are
to
your
me,
thoughts?
honestly.
Or
My
upset
thoughts?
alert this weekend? Yeah.
You know, it's difficult because you have two young teams in the Texans, and the Packers, going against the number 1 seeds. I'm trying to think of a team that I trust more in the Packers or the Texans.
Who do you, I guess, trust more in the playoffs, though? Lamar or the 49ers, based on their track records?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Mhm.
That's kind of how I'm looking at it. Like,
Mhm.
Lamar kind of has a shaky playoff pass, and like Houston, they almost got that. Someone tweeted it, and I forgot who it was, but I guess I'll retweet it to shout them out once I find it. But someone tweeted that they have the 2021 Bengals types of vibes, and I'm kind of getting it too. They're like that team of destiny. They're gotten hot at the right time. They got a young coach, a young quarterback who's just absolutely dealing it, and they're hot right now. I mean, look at recent history. Teams who have shown that they have rested their starters week 18 and then had the number 1 seed. That's not been a good recipe for success.
No.
And we've seen most recently the team that did that was in Baltimore. And who did they rest their starters week 18 against? Pittsburgh.
Yep. It's like I said,
And
I've seen
now
this
they're
movie.
playing in the NFC South team on a Saturday. It's the perfect storm for a Texans upset. That's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say.
And
Yeah, I'm gonna have
But
to
do
go with
you-
the Texans. I love what they're doing.
It's the true Cinderella story. Like
Yeah.
you can't
And
write.
honestly,
You cannot
I would
write
be
it.
upset if Houston even went on to the Super Bowl unless they beat the Bills. Then I'd be crushed. But like,
Yeah.
I mean, you can't hate on this Texans team. There's something about them. Like CJ Stroud, he's just got that ultimate charisma to be doing this as a rookie. And it's funny, like I've even heard Ohio State fans like kind of talk about like that they're surprised by this because yeah, he was good at Ohio State, but I don't think anyone could have seen how good this guy really could be. And he's just been phenomenal. It has just been awesome to watch. I think the show goes on this week. I really do.
This is
I
the
guess
most
my issue with the
likable.
Texans is their defense because they've shown to give up a lot of points, a lot of explosive plays against some of these teams. Like you can go back into the
That's
regular
fair.
season, countless times we thought, hey, this is a big game for the Texans, and then all of a sudden they
Right.
get blown out. I.e., they got blown out by the Browns before, but obviously they didn't have CJ Stroud that time. They were playing former Bill with Case Keenum. So, but they've been
They
blown out
did
a
go
few
into
times, and then
Cincy
you can
though
look
and
at
beat Joe
Lamar and
Burrow when Cincy was healthy. After Cincy got on that little win streak, they beat San Fran and the Bills, and everyone thought the Bengals were back. And here comes C.J. Stroud and D'Amico Ryans in the jungle, even after throwing a late game pick and Cincinnati tied it. That didn't phase the young rookie.
Mhm.
He went right down the field and set up the game-winning field goal in a tough environment, a playoff type environment against, let's call it what it is, a Super Bowl contending team when they are fully healthy in the Cincinnati Bengals. And Burrow, that was, I believe, his second to last game, to be honest, I think.
It was something along those lines, but
or one of
Paul,
his last games.
You got something. You're dying to say something, Mister. I'm gonna wear a Sabres shirt onto the show.
Right.
I mean, it's a.
At least support a winning franchise like the Amerks. Gosh, Paul.
Hey,
I'm kidding.
Let's go Bolts in
Hey,
here.
they made a
last week
Calder
and
Cup
needed
last year. I mean,
They did. they're coming. The Sabres, they're that Amerks, they're prepping for the Sabre success.
100%.
If I could.
Yes.
But let's get back to football because Ben, you have a Baker agenda. I'm going to point this to you. Bigger story: Jared and the Lions or Baker and the Bucks?
Oh boy, this should be good.
It's a great story. That's why, like, it's kind of hard for me to, pick a
Gotta choose
side
one.
in this one because
You have
I've
to.
actually liked Goff back in his Ram days. I love him now on the Lions, to be honest with you, because they shipped him off like they literally traded him away, and the Lions, they traded for him because, they could accept his contract for cap reasons, and he's just balled out and like really embraced that city. Like they were chanting Jared Goff before the game, which was awesome. And
That's
I don't
pretty
really
cool.
get why people are upset about it. Like I know Matt Stafford is such a legend, but it's a freaking playoff game, for instance. You're not going to cheer for the opposing quarterback in the playoffs, right? Like, come on. Of course, the Detroit fans respect Matthew Stafford and are thankful for what he's done. But you just got to understand, if Ryan Fitzpatrick ran out of the tunnel or whatever, or someone else, you know what I'm saying, and it's in Buffalo for the playoffs,
I
we're
mean,
gonna give him that
same thing
same
with
energy.
Tyrod
Yeah.
Taylor. Tyrod
Yep.
Taylor.
Mhm.
We're gonna
Yeah.
give him the same energy in the playoffs. Like
As you should,
it's
because
business. I'm sorry.
yep, it's a playoff game. You can't just
And it's
sure
funny.
Matthew
How
Stafford
funny is
was.
it? Jared Goff already has more playoff success than Matthew Stafford for the Lions.
Uh-huh.
As crazy as that is,
Hey, we love to see it. We love a good
we
success
do love
story,
to see
especially out
that.
of Jared Goff after the
And then Baker
shafting with the
too.
Rams.
I
Yeah.
But
mean, how crazy is it that Baker has succeeded the GOAT? And I mean, he's playing better than he was last year, ironically. Like this Baker offense is way more deadly than last year's Bucks offense with Brady. We just call it what it is. Like Baker's dealing. Like I'd love to see him, go to the NFC Championship. To be honest, like or Goff. I mean, honestly, it's like a win-win for me. I
this
mean,
entire
and
playoffs has just been a win-win, except for one team that is on the other side right now, and that's Patrick Mahomes.
yep,
Every other story has been such a win. Josh Allen and the Bills coming back, setting their sights on another championship game appearance. CJ
yep, them
Stroud and the
picking out the
Texans.
Yinzers.
Yeah, thank God. Baltimore, looking like a great team. 49ers, Brock Purdy and that whole team looking great. I saw a tweet, and I don't know exactly who this was, but they were talking about the potential of a Bills 49ers Super Bowl to be the final measuring stick between, can a quarterback carry a team by himself, or does the quarterback need the team around him to be successful? And that
Or can you win
Super
without
Bowl,
a top
yep,
quarterback?
yeah, and that Super Bowl would prove it, whether
And
one
if that
side's better than the
happens,
other.
um,
That
I
would be
wonder who called that Super Bowl back in March. Oh yeah, that was me. How
oh, that
crazy,
was
right?
you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice because I called the Lions to get to the Super Bowl in August, and I was like,
Well,
you know what? I'm going bold with a Super Bowl prediction and sending the Lions. Unfortunately, the AFC team I had is not going, and that's quite obvious who I picked. That
maybe
Super
you
Bowl
were
would have
just
fed
looking at
families.
the 2024 NFL season crystal ball, not the 2024 Super Bowl.
Hey, I
That's
hope,
gonna
right?
happen for the 24-25 season. You
Hey,
were
I
just a
hope,
year
right?
early. Yeah.
Muffins Lions would have fed families, but the Lions getting to the Super Bowl, oh, that would feed so many families just to see them have the chance, no matter who it's against, whether it's the Bills, Texans, Ravens, or Chiefs. Oh man, if you could imagine the Chiefs and Lions in a rematch in the Super Bowl,
That would
the
be
world would be
cinema.
so like you see
Everyone
those
would be united
maps,
against the
you see
Chiefs.
those maps where it's like amount of people that want X team to win the Super Bowl and and Y team to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be this whole sea of blue across the
Clash
whole
of fan
country
With a
bases.
tiny, tiny
with a little
dot of
tiny
red in
red
Kansas
spot.
City.
Yep,
Yeah, it's a
in
speck.
Missouri. Yep.
So, are we gonna get to our game picks now, or are we gonna do our Bills game keys?
All right, we'll go into game picks and then we'll
I
do
like it.
game keys right at the end of the game picks here. All right. Let's start in Baltimore. The first game on Saturday, 4:30. I think this one's on ESPN, so you hear Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. You get Baltimore, got all the rest. Houston, they're ready to go. They're hot. CJ Stroud moment. It's young prodigy versus Lamar Jackson, and hopefully he can reunite his playoff hopes and be a successful quarterback in the playoffs. Who do we have winning this game? Connor?
Well, the way I see it, like I said, I know earlier I was like, "Oh, I've seen this movie." Houston, I think they are riding a hot hand, and I
Yeah.
think that, to be completely honest, they have as good a chance to go into Baltimore and wipe them out like the Titans did a few years ago. But to be completely fair and honest, that Baltimore team in 2019 was, you know, pretty young. They had some key players, but this Baltimore defense is a lot better than it was in 2019, like a lot
Mhm.
better. Lamar Jackson is playing a lot better in my
He
mind
has.
than he was in 2019, and he won the MVP in 2019. He'll
Mhm.
probably win it again this year too. So, in my opinion, I think if the Ravens can establish a run game with Gus Edwards, Keaton Mitchell, and let Lamar use his legs, keep the ball clean, I think the Ravens can actually win this game, make the AFC Championship game, and possibly get sent to the Super Bowl depending on opponent they have next. So I'm taking the Ravens. It would be a great story for CJ Stroud and the Texans, but I'm taking the Ravens anyway. I think this is going to buck the trend on Ravens playoff performances in the past.
Ben, keep in mind there is a title on the line between me and you. You know,
Ooh.
for supremacy of game picks at the beginning of the year, we said bragging rights. So maybe next year we'll put put more on it than bragging rights. But who do you got?
I mean, I think I kind of spoiled it earlier. I'm sticking with Houston. I think this is a team of destiny. They're playing their best football at the right time. I don't know how Baltimore's going to be off the rest. I really don't. They could be rusty. And I think Stroud is, he's playing like a top, not a top five, a top three quarterback in the AFC right now. And I think at the top, it's him, Allen, and Mahomes. And I think, it's going to be between, two of the top three quarterbacks in the AFC championship game, no matter what. So I'm going Houston.
Okay.
Jenna,
She doesn't
you're
know
on
she's
mute.
muted.
It's so embarrassing. I'm gonna go with Houston as well. Uh, the Texans, as opposed to Baltimore. Baltimore had their rest in week 18, and they might be a little rusty. Teams that rest their starters in the final week of the season and come out into the divisional round as the 1 seed, they don't always look as sharp. um so I'm thinking that the Ravens might come out a little flat, and the Texans, we see how quickly they can score. They could punch them in the mouth.
hmm
This game, I'm always up for picking an upset. It just fuels my brain. Picking up a great upset, but I'm really nervous on you know the on what kind of Houston defense we're going to see on Sunday. Are we going to see the defense that we saw against Cleveland, where they just continued to keep going at Joe Flacco and they continued to got home? Or are we going to see the Cleveland defense? I'm sorry, the Houston defense that's just going to get slaughtered by the opposing team's talent? I think there's just on a talent uh comparison here, Baltimore should win this game, and that should mean they go on to the AFC Championship game. And I'm going to stick to that. Baltimore wins this game, and I just feel like on a sheer talent point, Baltimore overestimates Houston just on sheer talent.
You think so?
Right.
You,
I do.
yeah.
We're on the same boat, Paul. You're going
Just on
down the ship with me if they lose.
All right.
I like it. I'm not
Green
on.
Bay going on the road to San Francisco because here is another same example as the first one. Sheer talent could just overestimate here. Who do we have?
I got San Fran. I'm gonna still stick with my Super Bowl prediction. So yeah, until they're knocked out, I'm gonna ride with that. And I still think they're the better team, top to bottom. I love the no pun intended, but I love the Jordan Love story. It's awesome, but that story has to end eventually, and it's this week in San Fran. Niners win big.
Whoa, big? Okay, I wouldn't say big. Jordan Love has actually been playing out of his mind to make it a big win. But Christian McCaffrey won me a fantasy championship. Brock Purdy plays great. I mean, yeah, system quarterback, whatever. He's been playing out of his mind. Enough of the system quarterback talk when it comes to Brock Purdy. Debo Samuel is great. He should have been a Dolphin. Brandon Ayuk is just an incredible wide receiver in the slot. George Kittle is one of the best tight ends in the game and arguably had his moments where he was better than Kelsey this season. To be fair, he was better than Kelsey this season. You got Fred Warner on the defense. And I mean, you got Nick Bosa. I mean, this team is too stacked to. This is a team that if you don't win the Super Bowl, your season was a bust. That's how good this Niners team is. And they're going to show it in the playoffs. I'm taking the Niners. They've beaten the Packers historically quite a fair bit in the playoffs, too. You know, that last 2019 AFC championship or NFC championship game, Aaron Rodgers and the Packers kind of got smoked by Raheem Mostert. History will most likely repeat itself unless Jordan Love is the antithesis of everything that Aaron Rodgers was. So I'm taking the Niners.
I'm taking the Niners too.
We got
I
Paul Island here.
yeah. Yeah, I'm taking the Niners too.
I mean,
All
if
right.
if everything goes right here, me and Paul could be square in the in the standings.
Yep. I'm
When
seeing.
everything goes right, I should say that.
Yeah, I could just see Paul ready to jump on that agenda. Paul, do it.
I'm going to. Even
I
even
knew
though
what's
whatever
coming. We've
I
been pushing
just
this
said
agenda.
with Houston, it completely goes against everything I'm about to say now. It just I picked Baltimore, then I'm going to pick the upset here. Like, well, that makes no sense. But I have to go at the end of the year. I have to go every time I pick Green Bay this year. Like, where do I stand? Because I've picked Green Bay quite a lot, but this young team, I love the young team story because maybe just because I'm a Sabres fan here, just the young team story. It's great. Houston's a young team. They're striving. And just didn't trust their defense here. But Green Bay offense has looked really, really good. Their defense went into Dallas last week and giving up, late, garbage time touchdowns. Other than that, kind of make it close, but really, it wasn't close. Green Bay just completely went into Dallas and embarrassed them. Do I think Green Bay is going to go into San Francisco and just completely embarrass the 49ers? No, frankly, I don't. I feel like this game for Green Bay, they're going to have to keep it within a 24-20 type game. They're going to have to make the San Francisco 49ers grind it out. And with that, I think Matt LaFleur has the upper hand in a grind it out type of game. Green Bay, you're going to grind it out and you're going to go to the NFC Championship game. But who would they face? Because that would be determined Sunday afternoon, right before the Bills play at 6:30. You get Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the Lions, who last week won their first playoff game in 30 years. Congrats to them and those fans that were that season ticket holders that went to that
story.
game and blasted Eminem and sang to it and saw their team win and go into tears last week. That was emotional last
It
week.
was.
That was awesome.
Makes me reminds myself of when I saw the Bills win their first ever playoff game. But
Hey, you want to know
emotions
the funny
Yeah.
alive
thing?
this weekend. Who wins?
You want to know the funny thing? It was emotional not just for Lions fans, but it was emotional for Dolphins fans, just in the wrong way. You know
Yeah.
why? That drought is now ours, and we want to jump off a bridge.
As much as I
Annoying.
love the Baker Mayfield story, I think he's going to lose himself this week in Detroit.
What?
I give the strong edge to Dan Campbell over Todd Bowles. I think Campbell is a much better head coach, and I trust him to make the critical calls. They're also at home. I know I kind of spoke earlier that the Bucks have a defensive advantage, but it doesn't matter when you have the mastermind known as Ben Johnson
Yep.
pushing the buttons. Jared Goff is balling. They got a Stonewall uh, at the O line, and I mean they got weapons upon weapons. Laporta, Gibbs, St. Brown, Montgomery, and even JMO is starting to look like, the JMO we thought he'd be coming out of Bama. And if that happens, oh boy, Detroit is really going to be scary going forward if they can start to unlock JMO, because that's a weapon. And actually, we did see this matchup early in the season in Tampa, and the Lions prevailed. I know it is later in the season, but I'm gonna pick the Lions again here. Give me Detroit. I'm sorry,
Okay.
it irks me, Connor. I want to pick Baker, but I'm going with the level-headed non-fan pick.
Well, all right. You can do exactly what you want, but the fact of the matter is that I am not following you. I am sticking to your own agenda more than you are.
I know,
Tampa
it's funny.
Tampa Bay is going to rock the Lions right out of the playoffs. And the only reason I even think that is because when Baker Mayfield is hot and he's finding those deep targets to Mike Evans, to Chris Godwin, their wide
Yeah.
receiver room is so deep. Their running backs,
Russell Gage,
Rashad
right?
White.
No,
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
yeah, Russell Gage. Yeah, let's go there. But
Yeah,
but
CJ Gardner Johnson.
yeah, the trash talk has already begun, and I love it because Baker Mayfield's going to be motivated to
Oh yeah,
burn CJ Gardner Johnson for so many
100%.
yards. And when that offense gets going, they look great. They looked great against Philadelphia. Heaven forbid the collapse, but they looked great. They've had moments where they've just looked unbelievable all year. Their defense still has the Super Bowl pieces that were on the team in 2020, a few of them, not all of them, but a few of them. And they look really good on the defensive side of the ball, too. I mean, look at what they were able to do to Jalen Hurts, able to get him kind of out of his pocket, actually made him take a safety in that game, which had the whole world laughing. Fire the cannons. Tampa Bay is going to the NFC Championship game. And please, if they go to the Super Bowl, I don't know how I could physically root against a team in my own state. Not like, I mean, 2020, I didn't. I wanted to go to that parade, but if they do it, if they get there again, Baker Mayfield winning a Super Bowl would be oh man, what a
That would
story.
be a story.
I'm going to that parade. We're going to jump in the freaking Atlantic Ocean at that point.
Is Baker gonna throw the Lombardi though?
Yes, he better spike it. Spike it right in the Atlantic.
Right in the Atlantic.
Trying
I
to
think
mute today.
she did it again. Smack it, Janet. Smack it.
Sorry about that. I just don't see the Bucks winning this game.
Come
I'm taking the
on.
Lions.
Oh, come on.
You know,
No fun, please.
this is
Yeah, come on, Janet. What's wrong with you?
interesting matchup because you get experience in Tampa Bay, and then you get the young, new talent in Detroit. But then you get a not so proven coach in Todd Bowles in the playoffs, and you get this new up and coming head coach that seems like it could be the next best head coach in the NFL, and Dan Campbell getting his team all together. I don't see Detroit, over celebrating or coming out soft or, coming off a little lazy after winning their first playoff game in 30 years. I see Detroit coming out with the same energy, with the same passion to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this weekend. I really feel like Detroit, energy, passion, they play physical. They like their offense with all these young talents is great and it works. that's what's going to win them this game. Is it going to be close? I feel like it could be like one of these 23-24 grinded out type games like they did last week. But I think Detroit is better prepared for this with Dan Campbell than what Baker is with Todd Bowles in Tampa Bay. All right. Instead of picking the Bills game.
Leave me on
this
that
week,
island.
just
All
Okay,
right.
fine.
All right. I was thinking, why don't we each give a single key so we have 4 total keys? Just because if we do 4 keys each, we'll probably end up going another hour.
that's what I was thinking. I was thinking one key
So
per
I'm
person.
gonna stick to my original key, and that's get to Mahomes. You know, AJ Epinesa, even Dodson or Williams coming up on a blitz, right? Or if they want to send a DB, right? Either way, you got to keep Mahomes contained. You can't let him get out of the pocket. You can't let him look down the field and find his receivers. You got to get to him, make him, hurry his throws, make him uncomfortable, and get him down a couple of times. Maybe you force a turnover or two.
Do something we couldn't. But
100%.
well, Ben, you gave a defensive key to the game. Let me give you the offensive key to the game. Make sure Josh Allen does not turn into the Josh Allen that we have seen multiple times throughout the season and just throwing up arm punts to get intercepted. He has to keep the ball clean. Have the offensive line help with that by keeping him clean. Make sure he doesn't get pressured. Let him take off when he needs to take off, just as long as he's not hurdling too many people.
And let him cook.
Do not turn the ball over on offense. And Josh Allen can take control of the game by himself. I mean, we saw it in Pittsburgh. He literally ran 52 yards for a touchdown on his own. He was hitting those targets all day. I mean, look at that one play with who was it? Dalton Kincaid. One play, bang, touchdown. Dalton Kincaid to turn all the momentum into the Bills' favor.
Yeah.
He will be the catalyst for the game. Control it. Don't turn the ball over. Let him cook.
Speaking of Cook, James Cook was a big factor in the Bills' win versus the Chiefs in Week 14. Was it?
I believe so. Yep.
Unfortunately, they went away. I mean, that was mainly in the receiving game. But they went away with the run game in the second half. I think that in this game, this matchup, the Bills need to establish their run game and they need to continue to do what they've done in these past few weeks, which is involve everybody. Khalil Shakir was not a big part of the offense at that point. Even Dalton Kincaid, the rookies, the path of a rookie is not linear and they have their ups and downs. I think Dalton Kincaid, the way that he performed versus the Dolphins and the Steelers,
Don't
he's
remind me.
he's he's been playing really really good lately. And coming up in big moments. So he's going to be involved. Diggs, we've seen his snap count go up in these past 2 games. It's almost like he's not entirely as injured as everybody is saying. I know one of my good friends, Thigh Doctor, he's got his own suspicions about his about potential injury, which I do agree with, but everybody thought that there was just some like major conspiracy going on with Diggs.
Yeah, he's
But
unhappy.
I think that they were just trying to preserve him for the more important games, like the
That's a good
playoffs.
point.
So
Take notes,
his
Coach
snap counts
McDaniel.
are back up to 80%. So I think distributing the ball around and developing the run game is going to be important for this matchup versus the Chiefs.
Keeping the run game self-sustained also prevents turnovers.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it does. All right, my key of the game this weekend is cover the middle of the field. Do not allow Travis Kelce or the other receiver,
Rashee Rice.
Richie Rice. Yeah, that
Yeah.
guy. I don't know why he blinked my mind for a quick second, but cover the middle of the field. Do not let these guys into the middle of the field because that's where I think the Chiefs are the most dangerous. It would stink if Dotson and Bernard are both out for this game, but at least one of them helps in the coverage of the middle of the field. And obviously, you can hopefully also Johnson also plays in this game as well. Just cover
Please.
the middle of the field. You keep everything out to the outside. I don't think the Chiefs are such of are an issue. They're going to try to attack the middle of the field with Kelsey, with Rice, with maybe with the short pass game with Pacheco. You control that. I think the Bills defense will hold the non-prone offense of the Chiefs in check, and that would allow Josh Allen and the Bills offense to get going and hopefully spark their offense to continue to do what they did last week against the Steelers. So cover the middle of the field. Do not allow Kelsey or Rice or Pacheco get going over the middle of the field, or you just know Andy Reid would just keep attacking it all day, and then you get one of these 42-36 shootouts.
Mhm. Big time.
Any final takeaways before we, end today's show?
Anything y'all got? Because if you guys want to know just how badly Miami is sinking into the ocean right now,
A little earlier than expected.
yes, earlier than expected. Not only did the Dolphins' loss kind of start the process, but now their basketball team is down 72-38 at the half to a team that's not that good. The
Oh,
entire
Miami is
city, the entire city is on
strong.
fire right
Yeah.
now, sinking into the abyss, and every Bills fan watching can just enjoy the suffering.
Oh, I bet.
I mean,
Well,
let's be honest, we're all enjoying it in a way.
all right. So that concludes today's show. Hope everyone who listened today, subscribe, subscribe and like all of our content on the Undercovers page as well. With that, go Bills.
All right.
Bill.